You should have never been born. You're the biggest disgrace of this family." Those were the exact words my father shouted into a mic right in front of 50 people at his 60th birthday party. Everyone laughed, except me. I stood there holding his gift in one hand and my dignity in the other, shaking, like, share and subscribe if you believe in silent revenge and secret success. I hadn't been home in 3 years, and honestly, I wasn't planning to. But my younger sister kept begging. "Please come. Dad really wants the whole family together." I should have known better. The moment I stepped into the hall, I saw it. That familiar look in their eyes. Like I didn't belong. Like I had failed. My uncles whispered. My cousins smirked. Even my own mother gave me that pity smile. The same one she used the day I dropped out of college. Dad made sure to seat me at the far end of the table, near the exit. "For your convenience," he said. But I knew exactly what he meant. Midway through dinner, after his 5th glass of whiskey, Dad tapped the mic and started his speech. "I'm proud of this family. Proud of my daughter for becoming a lawyer. My youngest son, a doctor. And then, there's him." He pointed right at me. Dropped out, tried some online nonsense, and now probably delivers food or sells courses on YouTube. The room erupted in laughter. People actually clapped. I felt my throat close up. My hands shook. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. Dad walked over to open the gift I brought. He ripped off the wrapping paper like it was trash. A small black box. He opened it. His smile froze. Inside was a single piece of paper. He pulled it out, read the first line, then the second, and his face turned white. It wasn't a birthday card. It was a transaction slip. The final payment for the house he was standing in. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "You live in my house now, Dad." He laughed, a dry, awkward laugh. "What kind of joke is this?" But his hands were still trembling. He looked again. So did everyone else. My brother snatched the paper from him and started reading out loud, voice cracking with confusion. "Transfer confirmation. Total amount, $2.3 million. Paid by... what the hell?" I stood up, finally done pretending. 3 years ago, when you kicked me out and told me I'd never make it, I started building. Quietly. Alone. Nobody said a word. Even the waiter had paused with a tray in hand. My cousin, the one who used to borrow money from me in college, muttered, "Wait, what did you build?" I looked around at all their faces. So proud when I failed. So quiet now. I started a small online tool. Just an idea. While you all were laughing at memes, I was writing code. Every night, every weekend. When Dad said I'd never be anything, I was talking to investors. When Mom told me to just get a real job, I was closing my first 5-figure deal. And when this family forgot my birthday last year, I was signing a 7-figure exit deal. Gasps. Audible ones. My aunt nearly dropped her wine glass. "But you never told us," my sister whispered. "Exactly," I said, "because I knew what you'd all do. Laugh, dismiss it, say I got lucky, just like Dad did, every single time I tried to explain anything." I pulled out my phone and tapped a few buttons. "Check your inbox," I told him. A few seconds later, his phone buzzed. He picked it up, and then sat down. Silence. He was staring at a screenshot. My investment account. 8 digits. Real. Verified. My uncle leaned over and asked, "Is that real money?" I turned toward him and smiled. "You mean the money you once said I'd never earn because I was playing with computers all day?" My dad still hadn't said a word. He looked stunned, but I wasn't done. I walked up to the front of the room, took the mic from its stand and said, "I bought this house 6 months ago. Didn't tell anyone. Just put it in your name as a gift. But after tonight, I'll be changing that. Gasps again, louder this time. Even the DJ looked up from his booth. But why now? Someone asked. I stared at Dad. Because I wanted you all to see it happen. I wanted you to laugh one last time so that you remember how wrong you were. Forever. The silence turned into discomfort. No one dared make eye contact. My father, the same man who once said, "You're just a burden with Wi-Fi," now looked like a man who had just watched his whole ego collapse. He tried to speak. Son. I didn't mean... You meant every word. I cut him off. When you told your friends I was the failure child, when you refused to invest a single dollar in my startup, and when you told Mom that if I ended up homeless, you wouldn't care, don't pretend now. My mother stood up, voice shaking. We were just scared. We didn't know you were serious. I turned to her. I was serious, but none of you ever asked. You just assumed I'd fail because I wasn't doing it your way. I paused, letting that sink in. You wanted a traditional son, but I built a modern empire. And then, right on cue, he spoke up. My golden boy brother, the one Dad always compared me to. So what? You got lucky with one business? That doesn't make you better than us. I smiled. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. I tapped my phone again and cast something on the TV behind me. The screen lit up with a website, my company's homepage. The banner read, "Helping over 10 million users automate their online income." Not one business, I said calmly. 5, all bootstrapped, all profitable, and now acquired. He scoffed. Even if that's true, what are you trying to prove? That you're rich? No, I said, stepping closer. I'm trying to prove that the nobody you mocked is now the reason this family isn't homeless. You see this house? The bills? The credit cards you've been using under Dad's name? All paid by me. My cousin gasped. Wait. You're the one paying Dad's debt? I nodded. And after tonight, I won't be. A storm of murmurs swept through the room. Some looked shocked, others ashamed. Dad was shaking his head slowly, like reality was finally catching up. But he still had pride left in his voice when he said, "You think this money makes you the man of the house?" "No," I said quietly. "It makes me the owner of it." And just when they thought it was over, I looked at the caterer staff and said calmly, "Wrap up the food. This party is done, and so is my support." People panicked. "What do you mean, done?" I held up the keys. "You've got 30 days. Eviction notice sent. Bank's already informed." My dad finally snapped. "You can't do that. I'm your father." I looked him dead in the eyes. "You stopped being that the day you chose your ego over your son." The yelling started. My dad stood up, red-faced, furious, trying to grab the mic back from me, but the weight of the truth had already crushed his voice. My mother clutched her chest, whispering, "No. This can't be happening," while my siblings argued among themselves, blaming each other for not knowing what I had been building all these years. But I didn't flinch. Not anymore. I turned and walked toward the door. But before leaving, I said one final thing that turned the entire room upside down. "Oh, and one last thing. You remember Uncle Rafiq? The one you all said was crazy for starting his own business and leaving this family behind? I partnered with him 2 years ago. He's the reason I got my first million." Aunt Sima's face dropped. "You what?" "He's been blacklisted from this family." I laughed. "Exactly. And still, he believed in me more than any of you ever did. My sister chased after me. Please don't go like this. This is all too much." I stopped at the door. "Too much? You didn't say that when Dad called me a burden in front of the entire family. You didn't say that when they laughed while I stood there like a fool. You only speak now because you're scared of what happens next." She whispered, "So what now? You cut everyone off?" I looked at her. Number. I'm just finally done begging to be respected. And as I walked out the door, my phone buzzed again. Another notification. This time from my latest app launch. 200,000 users on day 1. The screen blinked. $128,000 earned today. I smiled. Not because of the money, but because I realized I didn't need them. They needed me. And now, they'd have to learn how to live without me. Because the Disgrace just became the most powerful name they'll ever regret mocking. 3 days later, the group chat that had ignored me for years was suddenly flooded. Can we talk? Please call Mom. She hasn't eaten since that night. Dad's trying to apply for a loan, but they're rejecting him because of the house paperwork. Bro, you really left us hanging like that? I didn't reply. Instead, I sat on the balcony of my penthouse apartment, overlooking the city they all thought I'd never survive in. I sipped my coffee while reading a message from a Forbes contributor asking for an interview. Subject line, from family disgrace to digital tycoon, your story is inspiring millions. I smiled. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming everything they tried to bury, my voice, my worth, my future. A few days later, the cousin who once called my startup a joke asked for a job. I just said, "We're hiring, check the website." "Check our website," I said. "We're hiring, but we don't tolerate disrespect." Click. The story went viral after I shared it anonymously online. Thousands of people messaged me saying they felt the same pain, mocked, doubted, cast aside by the very people who should have lifted them up. And that's when I learned. Family isn't always blood. It's who believed in you before the world did. So I built a platform for the doubted and dismissed. It quickly became the top space for self-made winners. My dad? He never said sorry, but he bought the course. I didn't block him. Real revenge? Let them watch you win. Build, then Rizzy.